the Green Room with Aiden Keene. This is episode number 1 of 2026, and I couldn't even think of a better guest to have on the show. I'm so honored to be joined by Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Little Anthony. It's
Well,
such an honor. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I mean, the honor and the pleasure of being in your presence. Yes.
Thank you. Like I said earlier, you have been a hero of mine for so long, and it's just what an honor it is to have you.
Well, this is cool, man. I'm really, really glad, especially when young folks, you know, I like being around young people. I don't want
I'm
to be
glad.
older than me.
Well, I'm
Listen,
glad. Hopefully I can bring something interesting to the table for you today.
why not you, well, man? Just like me, I'm here, hanging around till I go back to work again. But no, I'm not just hanging around. I'm doing a lot of recording, man. Just left out of Orlando, working with a man up there by the name of Michael Franklin, who has his own independent indie record company called Solar. And he's got quite a few artists. He deals with a lot of the rock bands of the 80s and 90s and some right now. I mean, he's just done everything. Anyway, I've known him since he was a kid. Him and his brother Tim. They were with a rock band. They were very young when I met them. This is in the 80s, I was like in my 40s, middle 40s. And they were like in their 20s or something, teens. And they had a band called Rock and Robin. And they used to play for just about anybody and everybody in this business. And so they know everybody. So to make a long story longer, he ends up developing his own record company and the whole bit. And he called me and asked me, dude, I got a great idea for like this album. I said, an album? Man, ain't that kind of costly? And he said, no, I got my own studios. We have to look at the clock, you know? And are you willing? I mean, here's some of the tunes that I really love. And boy, they were very good. And so that kind of made me dribble a little bit. So me and my wife packed up and went to Orlando for a few days and recorded. So hopefully something comes of that.
It's amazing to me that, it's been over 60 years in this business for you, right? I mean, a long.
Oh, I wish that was so. Actually, I would have my first paycheck was in 1956 when I got paid as a professional artist. When I crossed from being an amateur to a professional, when I made a song with a group that came out of high school called the DuPonts, and it was like a regional hit, tri-state area, but that was it. Didn't go anywhere else. And that began to start the gigs. A gig would come in, and so they paid you for this, So
Right.
that was my first thing. That was 1956. I do the math. It'd be 70 years this June, May or June. I can't remember exactly. I've been there somewhere in the summer, beginning of the summer. I started out in 56, and and the funny thing is, other artists are still around, like Jimmy Merchant, one of the creators, founders of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers.
Mhm.
I oftentimes talk to him, and he said, "Dude, do you remember the first time I met you?" I said, "Yeah, I think it was at the New York Paramount. You were backstage with Alan Freed, and sitting by the cast door, you know, backstage."
Mhm.
And your stage door, you're just sitting there talking. And that was the first time I met you. And he says, well, you've been in this business 69 years. Like, what? And that's how I realized that's what it was. So I wish it was 60.
It's remarkable, and what I think about when I think of that amount of time, you've seen so many different changes in the industry. I mean, music tends to change all the time, even since I've been born.
Oh, yeah. Before I
And
was born.
then I'm wondering, I'm sure you get asked all the time how you started, but I'm more curious, thinking back over the 70 years, when you think about some of the performers and entertainers and even life experiences that you've had, is there something that sticks out to you more than anything else when it comes to your performance and how you were inspired to perform?
Got a couple of months. I mean, um, I didn't start out that way. I mean, I didn't do this because I was going to make some sort of career out of it.
Mhm.
A kid out of a nappy head kid out of Brooklyn, me and my friends, Clarence Ernest and Tracy and a bunch of kids living in the neighborhood in Fort Greene in Brooklyn. We didn't think that way. What we thought was we just happened to be able to. I was always singing. My mom says since I was 3 years old. I come from a musical family. My mother was a gospel singer and very successful gospel singer with her sisters, and they were called the Nazareth Baptist Gospel Singers. And so she would pull me along to all the different churches and different functions that she would do. And she was a soprano, and she told me that, all my aunts were singers. And then she told me her great grandfather, which would make me a great great grand would make me he would be my great 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 grandfather was a wonderful singer from Savannah, Georgia. And then on my father's side, he played the reed, the sax, alto and tenor, and he played for a lot of the big bands of the 40s. He played with them. He played with Buddy Johnson's orchestra for a minute. He played with the Sinclair Orchestra. He played with I mean, my dad, I mean, every day he was practicing,
Mhm.
and all of my brothers all were musicians. So we came out of a long. My ancestors, they tell me, were great singers, performers. So it's a genetic blood thing, I think, because at 3 years old, my mother and my aunts knew that I was going to be a singer because the way that people would respond to me, I was told. I don't remember, but they tell me that. So you take that and then all of the people that I began with, that weren't who they became. They were just average people. Um, it's just, I sometimes sit by myself in a room and think about it. Wow, did I just do that? You know, because I didn't start out to think that it's going to be 69 or 70 years. The only reason why we did it as kids, because we were kids, just like your generation, no different. It's C generation, D generation. We all have the same needs and wants and wanting to get somewhere.
Right.
Okay. And so we didn't start out with the whole deal was how many women came around, girls, when we would sing. I mean, that was it. That was our zenith. Not thinking, oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna end up meeting one of the great prolific record men of the world, George Gold of Gordon Records, or Richard Barrett, who discovered Frank and I in their teenagers, and the Isley Brothers and all these people. We were kind of mixed up in that bunch. We didn't know that a family called the Winley family, which had Winley Records, Winley record stores, were just beginning. We happened to be the kids that they were like using, and we were using them, and no one, all it just seemed to fall in place. I wasn't saying, "Oh, I gotta be the great singer. I'm gonna be him. I'm gonna be a star." No, it didn't pass any of our minds like that. But we're not stupid. We knew that the ultimate thing was to get your record heard on the radio. Because then, if you heard on the radio, you'll make lots of money. So we did have some kind of a goal, but we never thought that we were the kind of guys and myself that would pay you or pay somebody to hear us. If you go to New York City and what's become famous in New York City for many years, and I'm very thankful that we were the beginners of it. We and a bunch of other people started called subway performers. They're singing the subway, down the subway. Now today you see some of the classical guys playing violins and they're making 600, $700 a day.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We didn't think to put a basket down on the thing while we were singing. Because
Right.
we would sing just to get the echo from the tiles, it would give an echo sound. And you had a built-in audience. People got in trying to go to work and stuff. And they liked it because it was music. And if you did it well, it made their day better. You know, they get on a train and they would stop and listen and like we didn't know to put a basket down. We'd probably made a lot of money, but the next generation figured it out. Hey, well, why don't I just get a basket and maybe people throw money in there, and boy, do they throw money in there. So it's become a long-term tradition down in the subway, and I to like to believe that we were the forerunners with a bunch of other folks that started that.
It's really cool. And I've heard that story, from other musicians too, about how even the evolution of, being accepting of, tips and things like that has changed. And the music as a living kind of thing. I mean, like you said, at that point, it was for you, it was just to sing and hear it. But now it's totally changed.
I mean, you talk to any of those artists that came up like Neil Sedaka, Carole King, and all them, and we all do each other.
Oh, wow.
Well, from Brooklyn and New York. Brooklyn came with a lot of people coming out of Brooklyn. And I mean, I used to stand outside with a young man looking at 1619 Broadway in New York City, the Brill building, where they had all these publishing companies. And if you go there, sometimes these guys want you to do demo work
Hmm.
just to sing a song that they wrote so they can hear somebody can sing. So a lot of artists became great by doing that. They broke away and became better. And one of them was Bobby Darin. And he used
Okay.
to be outside there, and him, and we used to watch Jackie Wilson come. And at that time, Jackie Wilson was huge. It's around 56, 57, something there. And he was just beginning to really become huge. So it was a big deal, um, uh, you know, to see them. And there was a restaurant under the Brill building called the Surf. And that's where all of the really, there were two places where all the entertainers would hang out in New York at that time. One was called Surf, the other one was called Jack Dempsey's, the great boxer, heavyweight champion.
Hmm.
And like you would go in and you see Jackie Gleason, you would see Sid Caesar, you would see Imogene Coca, you would see, all the TV greats, you know.
Right.
But in the Surf, it's the recording artist that you would just stand there and say, oh, there's Connie Francis coming out of there. I told Connie that. I was that little nappy head, little black dude there. And she laughed a lot about it. We became friends from that over the years. And so it's a chronicle. I wish I could put it all together real quick and give you a ride on that, but it is so much. If I keep thinking about it, something else will come up. But what happened was all these wonderful people that came in my life, the Mambas Mableys, the great Red Fox, this one, that one, it was just mind-boggling. Sugar Ray Robinson, the Marky Marciano, the fighter. We we would crisscross in our lives and meet each other or say, "Hey man, I really like that song you did. Oh, that you knocked that cat out, man. That cat was out cold." We're admiring each other's accomplishments. So I didn't know that my life was beginning to build its sort of destiny that God designed me to have, you know, and all of us, and even the guys, we didn't think that way. But when I think about it over and over, man, I mean, I was on the Ed Sullivan Show 3 times. I was on Hit Parade with the first black group that ever did the Hit Parade. They never did it with Stooky Lanson and whatever his other people was on there. At that time, you weren't even born then, but this was a big deal in the 50s, you
Right.
know? And TV was just exploding it was just becoming in its own. Color hadn't even come in yet, but it was exploding. Milton Berle show, Sid Caesar, Emma Koch, and all the great writers that came out of there. Neil Simon came out of there. And we start meeting these people, and because New York City is a little bitty island,
Right.
3 miles long, and with my education tells me, and 22 miles long, and 3 miles wide. And it got 8, 9, 10 million people in there.
Right.
So a lot happened in that little place. And I can go on and on, like meeting Jackie Wilson for the first time, and then becoming his friend. But one of the greatest relationships I ever had, and I speak with just great fondness, and the intimate. We were intimate friends. I mean, to the day he died. I was Frankie Lyman, of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers,
Yeah.
who 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 had the song "Why Do Fools Fall in Love?" I believe they all wrote it. I think Jimmy said they kind of collaborated, but Frankie had something to do with it too. But the just to have that relationship with him because he was going to be one of the greatest of all time, and then to just stumble one day going to see a play and happen to know a comedian that was in the play, um, and and be invited to go. And even I'm going. I'm in this play. You want to see him? And Sammy Davis is in this play. Uh, what was it called? No, what was it called, Mister One? Gee, my mind went into neutral just now. I forgot the Golden Boy, the Golden Boy, and to walk backstage and meeting a young lady that I knew. We came up together in Brooklyn, and her mother and my mother were very good friends. Her real name was Joni Gore, but she was known as Alta Bees, which became very famous in those days as the wife of Sammy Davis. I met Sammy Davis. That was the big backstage after the cast thing. I met a lot of the cast, and I went back, and my friend took me. Said, "Oh yeah, this little Anthony did this song, Tears on My Pillow," and blah 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 blah. And I met them, and then I met Sammy. But who knew that that relationship would that just grow for like 30 years afterwards? I was hanging out with him and stuff like that. And my first wife used to go to his home and meeting people like Elizabeth Taylor and all this. It just this is a nappy head kid out of Brooklyn who barely got a high school diploma. I think I got one. and and you know, I'm blessed, man, because that just doesn't happen to every. It just doesn't.
Right.
And I was taken out of this universe like one little pin thing you can't even see in the universe. And you are going to be the one that's going to go through this. I mean, look at you right now. I never met you before. I'm meeting you now. You become now part of my history. I become a part of your history simply because of doing this podcast. And I go, okay, I meet you. And I met others, and especially young people. I really dig that. I remember Mom Smedley was a great comedian. She said, the only thing that an old man can do for me is to introduce me to a young man.
That's
So I sort of got that attitude, that kid in me still there, you know, and I enjoy it. That they say Gen Z this, Gen Z. Gen Z ain't no different than we were. You just got different circumstances you got to deal. We all had to deal with stuff, and you'll break through. You'll get it all there. Look at you. Look at you doing. Look at that. Amazing.
consider myself blessed too, because I would have never even have imagined being able to do this and sit down with you. And
See?
it's,
And then
it's
technology came in allowing you to do that. And that's what it is. Now you have a lot of things. Most of my interviews now are not like used to be 30 years ago, just radio people. I hardly get an interview for any radio because there's nothing radio left. We're getting talking to people, guys like you and ladies, all the time. And they're always in their 20s, early 30s. What I'm doing is they're getting to look into my world a little bit just by having this kind of interview. What was it like? Because I didn't start out to be it, but I ended up being a musical historian because not many people left, and I happened to be there.
Mhm.
I went through the whole thing, to the segregation and the degradation, all that stuff. I went through all that stuff, man. Vietnam War, and I was a war baby. I still remember remnants of it. I was only 4 or 5 years old of World War II.
right.
And I mean, I went through all these presidents. How many presidents I've seen? I was there when Kennedy got killed, and from Truman to Eisenhower, on and on and on. I've been in this country watching how it works. It's no, this is an experiment, dude. I mean, it's ain't supposed to work, but it does. And I think why it works is for what it really is. It's the whole key to this country is individuality thinkers, and they're free to do it. So if you think of an idea like you thought of, man, I'm gonna get me a microphone and I'm gonna get me some headphones, dude. I'm gonna get on the internet. I hear you can get this, and all you gotta do is register that, and then I can maybe talk to somebody, and maybe if I do. All those are dreams in your head. We had the same dreams. You're doing it. And I admire that. I admire don't let I tell young folk today, don't nobody put you don't like you somehow you're freaked out. You don't know what's going on. I've been through that, man. My generation, they thought we lost it. They thought it was the end of the world.
Right.
Okay? No. It was the beginning of a new American way of looking at things and it didn't weaken anything, but it did it was big stronger because R&B is the mother and the child of R&B is rock and roll. And rock and roll is the greatest export in the world outside of oil.
Right.
Rap. You go to Japan, you go anywhere, there's rappers. Rappers, I mean, seriously, rappers. Where did it
Absolutely.
come from? It came from the urban streets of Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, black ghettos, places where, and rapping if anybody out there your audience is interested in is that wasn't invented. That's not the wheel. It did. They would rap them in the 40s. Guys like Louis Jordan and the what was his band called Tiffany Five. Um, you remember the Moonwalk? The Moonwalk that was done by Bojangles Robinson. First guy I ever saw do it in a movie that he did in 1932.
I didn't know that. See, I thought it was James Brown.
No, no, James, you have to learn everything from somebody.
Right.
We all learn by watching other people. I stand on the shoulder of giants before me. Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, on and on. Rosemary Clooney. You know, you go on and on and on of all these people that I used to listen to and admire. And I'm going, I want to do that.
Right.
And we didn't do it exactly the same because that's not the way it's designed for a new generation to do. What you do is you get it to fit you. You okay, I like that coat, boy, but it's kind of big. I better have it altered so I can put the coat on. Same coat, you just had it altered. So music, you know, um, um, spiritual music was the first. Gospel music gave birth to the blues. The blues gave birth to the jazz. Jazz gave birth to R&B. R&B gave birth to rock and roll and on. Rock and roll gave birth to hip hop. And where it goes from here, we don't know. But it'll go somewhere. It's gonna happen. It always does. And so I have a great love for all of that stuff. There's that one thing that I stick on and talk about, like the good old days. Mom and Baby once said, "These are the good old days. These are the good old days." She would say, and she was so funny. She was such a great comedian, boy. Ooh. And it's very true, very profound. These are the good old days. So even now, in the twilight of my years, I tell a lot of my contemporaries, man, this really ain't a death sentence. Are you crazy? No, no, no. I'm having just as much fun now. Sometimes I want to really do more. Of course, first of all, I'm physically able to do it.
Right.
Uh, and I want to, I want to, I want to sing for a new generation and say, I'm not trying to wing you out. I'm not going to try to sing the way what you're accustomed to or hearing, but I want to give you what we did, what was very cool or important to us, and maybe just maybe you'll you'll hear something that you could relate to, like you just said. I came out at age of 20. I grew up on your music. The things you heard obviously had to be in your house. Your parents were playing it, and you heard it. Well, I was the same way. My dad was playing jazz and the music of that time in the 40s. And I'm just a baby. I'm like 7 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old. And I'm hearing all that stuff and I'm getting turned on. But what it did was to end up developing into, where we are today. So so if that's the most that I can summarize in this little capsule of what has happened to me, I can do that up to this time. But if I've been able to sit down and tell you every little thing, take 2 months.
One thing I'd like to ask you and get your opinion on it, and it's related to what we're speaking about now. My father and I always have a conversation about, we talk about music all the time. We both love music. The early days of rock and roll, just for example, we'll take Elvis Presley.
Yeah,
And he always, credited people like Big Mama Thornton and BB King and people who really started this.
they did. But Muddy Waters.
Exactly. But Elvis was obviously a white kid taking this music and can
Yeah,
kind
well,
of continuing it.
he was from Tupelo, Mississippi, and it was segregation all the time, everywhere when he came up. But
Right.
he used to sneak, and I've known with Elvis a long time, and my nickname for him was L, and he would call me Anthony. So that's how our relationship was. Hey, Anthony, hey, L, what's up, man? And he told this story not just to me and others, but he's publicly told it that he when he was a kid, you're not supposed to be around black folks other than them serving you or whatever. He used to sneak in the black churches and listen to the music. And what it was mostly gospel black music. Now Elvis knew every gospel song ever written, literally. And when we were backstage and stuff, when it's not about, he used to start singing, man, and cats would join in, whatever it may be, and that's who he was. He was he that's what he did for relaxation. After he came off the stage doing, blue suede shoes and all the other stuff he did, Love Me Tender and all that.
Mhm.
But when he was backstage, there was a group called the Blossoms used to back him up, and the Sweet Inspirations, other groups that knew. So we all knew each other, and they would tell me stories of Darlene Love.
Yeah,
You should get a chance to interview her. She's so interesting, man. Her life is wow.
I would
And
love to.
Allan said, man, we used to be around the piano and we'd be doing the old gospel songs, man, backstage, just singing and singing for hours.
Elvis is my idol. I mean, here in Massachusetts, I have my own Elvis tribute show that I do, and I've been doing it for a while. And I've learned a lot about him.
You would have liked them. The cat, he was like a bird in a gilded cage,
Mm.
because the Colonel really created that myth of him doing what Al was doing was what everybody else was doing. He was trying to imitate other people. I mean, like he, at that time, white folks weren't doing that with their hips and gyrating, and the only black folks did that.
Right.
And he was influenced by that, so he just went up on stage and just did what was in him, and everybody's going, "Oh!" They either were like going, "Oh, blasphemy, blasphemy!" Or, "Wow, look at that!" The girls go, "Whoa!" And he developed that, and then once he developed it, of course, the Colonel, being the Colonel, who was his manager, really, he started making that money. He started really, dejecting help developing Elvis. But the real Elvis, man, we used to go up to his suite, just hang out. He'd do karate moves, all kind of crazy crap. Sometimes we would, one time, we were in Vegas. We were playing the, at that time it was called the International Hotel, but now it became the Hilton. And, and he was really coming back into the musical world because the movie thing he didn't like that. He didn't like it at all. But it was money. He got back where his roots was. That's the perform and entertain. So we there was this it was a new young fighter. His name was Foreman. Was out. Everybody's talking about George Foreman. Oh, the monster. It's got to be around 60,
Uh-huh.
60, 64, 60. I don't know. Anyway, no, later. No, it was like, no, it could have been around 60. He was pretty young, coming up in, I think, the Olympics and all that. And it was. And so Alvin said, "Hey, you want to see this cat's fight?" I rented the whole theater.
I've heard that he did that. Yeah.
Right. He took Dionne Warwick, myself, Red Fox, a couple of his friends, and a few other cats in town that were, he loved other entertainers. That was about maybe 13, 14 of us. And he actually bought the theater. We were only 13, 14 people in the theater because he couldn't walk into a theater like other people, like the civilian would. They, they would go crazy.
Right.
Like if we would say if L would come in our show and he'd be the guy with the maitre d or something would come backstage. He said, Elvis Presley says he's here. He's here and he wants to see you guys when you come off the stage. And when we wrote it, he had this called the Memphis Mafia.
Right.
Those cats, Esposito and all the guys. I became friends with Esposito,
Mhm.
and all those guys that protected him. And it was always a bubble. He lived in this bubble, and that ain't normal.
No, it's not.
Not normal. But
And
that's
that's,
that's what he built. Eventually, it killed him. I mean, he just wanted to be just himself, just him. I remember him in one of the Imperials, Clarence Collins. Clarence had loved guns. He owns all these different guns,
Right.
and they used to go out in Vegas at 2 and 3 in the morning, man, in the desert and shoot things. I mean, like cans and whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Elvis had every gun that was ever made.
Yep.
He had something he used to carry this big old Ford Magnum in there, handles on it. And so Clarence and they would go out, and a few other people, as gods, nobody knew. And then nobody's out there in the desert but snakes and things. I mean, what's out there? And they would go just out of town and just shoot. And a lot of people don't know that. And he was one of the most generous cats in the world, man.
Yes.
He's a lot like Sinatra and him are very, very close. They were became very friendly.
Mhm.
People don't realize how friendly Sinatra and him were. They got very close. He's like big brother, little brother thing. And yeah, my Frank Sinatra. And Frank was that way. He did so many wonderful things for people, but people don't know him from that. They know him from other things. The reasons, who knows? Media does that to you. And but the real Elvis Presley was a very shy, introverted sort of guy.
Yeah.
Um, he would when he was talking to me, he would turn around to me sometimes and say, "You saw that? That was really." He was just like one of the guys.
Right.
And I was there just when started and married Priscilla. Priscilla and I got to know each other as time went on. And actually, he had called Clarence because he really liked Clarence a lot.
Mhm.
And he called, he says, "Hey, my wife is coming to town with a friend. I want somebody to watch, kind of, New York City. I want somebody street smart to
Yeah.
kind of look out for her." And we did it. And we were at a home called the Americana. The jewel box at that time on 6th Avenue. I don't believe it's there anymore. The hotel is, but the name is long. They sold out to Hilton or somebody. But I remember he called the day before. It was Clarence answered. He said, "Want to talk Clarence Collins?" And Clarence answered the phone and he said, "Yeah, okay, man. All right, all right." He said, "Oh, yeah, that was Elvis. Uh, Priscilla and his girlfriend are coming and he wants them to come to your show." And I think on that night was who's on the show? A comedian by the name of what's his name? In fact, Hines and Dad were on the show. And if you guys don't know who Hines and Dad, you know who Gregory Hines was. Gregory Hines became a great actor, great dancer, did a lot of movies and stuff and all that. And Gregory and they were and a guy named Godfrey Cambridge, a great black comedian. The guy downstairs, I guess when she came in, she didn't have an entourage. She just had a friend. And she says, "I like that little Anthony, that's sweet." So I don't know who picked up the phone. It could have been Harold or somebody. And he goes, "Yeah, okay. Send her on up." And then later on, I found out that the guy downstairs was going, when he was talking to Harold or somebody, that there's a, there's a Miss Presley down here. When I think upstairs. Is it okay? Of course it's okay. Send her up.
That's awesome. I love hearing
Yes,
these
of
Elvis
course.
stories. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so many. And we watched out for him, man. I mean, literally. I mean, really, Harold did, because we would walk going somewhere. I don't know what we were doing, but so Harold was the one was assigned to her and her girlfriend, and he took them to Fifth Avenue and to shopping, and Harold was unbelievable, man. I was sitting there watching them buy all that money stuff, and he took them to Central Park. He took them a lot of places. Actually, there was like an NBC reporter happened to be reporting there. And the day that Harold did it, which was really stupid, we were so mad at him. He takes him to Central Park, and in those days, the mayor of New York was called Lindsay, um, Mayor Lindsay, and he had started a thing in the park called the Smokeout, which they were trying to, with hippies and give them that day they can all go out there and get high or something, and and it was a big deal. And so the local reporters always looking for something. And here's Harold sitting with Priscilla, a girlfriend. And the camera goes all over the news, you know. Priscilla Presley had a smoke out. I go, oh crap. Oh, it's not like that, dude. We were trying to explain it. He laughed. He laughed. He thought that was the funniest thing. Glad he laughed. We were frightened. We said, "We done blowed our friendship right there."
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, he's just a guy, man. If he was
Right.
alive today, he probably would do you a podcast and you guys. And he was just who he was. He's very shy,
Right.
very shy guy, and very southern, very polite. He called Mrs. this or Mrs. that. He called my mother Mrs. Anthony.
And
It's
he
crazy.
he always gave credit to his heroes too, and that I thought that was really cool. It was
He did.
a lot of people say, and this is my next question for you. A lot of people say that some of the people that were big in the late 50s and early 60s were stealing from, you know, the black artists from before their time. Elvis always gave credit to his heroes, but my question for you is, do you believe that groups like the Beatles, for example, stole from, let's say, Little Richard when they were covering all of his songs and kind of taken that style?
No, they didn't. They didn't steal anything. They were admirers,
Mhm.
and they were just trying to do it. Like when they came to America, the first thing they wanted to go was down the Mississippi Delta. Now, figure that one out. Why? Well, that's where Muddy Waters lived, and Muddy Waters or John Lennon, that was his idol,
Mhm.
and he got to meet BB King because I talked to BB about that. And he said, "Yeah, man, we went all through Memphis and all that stuff, and that's where they met Elvis." They set it up because everybody was BB and the cats. Most of them was friends were black.
Right. Right.
They set it up, and that's what they did. And what happened was, I came to find out they would study what the music was in America. And this is the story. I don't know if you've ever heard it. If you did, tell me. Shut up. Paul, dad was a merchant marine in England. And if you ever been to Liverpool, Liverpool is a sea. It's like New York City it leads out down the Mersey River out into the ocean, wherever it is, North Atlantic. And so all those ships go in there, and in fact, they used to build a lot of ships. Actually, it's where they built the Titanic.
Wow.
And so that's what most of the kids, parents did. They were working as merchant mariners, or whatever, wherever they worked. And he would go to America and he would bring back these 78 well, they say records. Records. They would make these records. 78 records, and they were like Muddy Waters and just the cats, it was big in America. And they would play it. And Paul said him and John used to sit around for hours trying to how they with the guitar and stuff, and if you watch them progression of the Beatles, they didn't steal anything. They just took what they liked.
Right.
They didn't try to outdo, twist, and shout the way the Isley Brothers did it. Man, the Isley Brothers tore that thing up. I mean, come on. They just did it very British.
Hmm.
Twist and shout. know, it was like when I heard, I went, "Oi!" But in the beginning, they were like really ice cream vanilla type cats, man. But as they grew over the years, they started becoming slowly darn good musicians
Right.
and writers. And it wasn't until the engineer came in there, like, what was his name? A very famous guy that helped them. He was a classical engineer. He did all the big classical music, New York, the London Philharmonic Orchestra, and he recorded all that stuff. I have to get his name right up.
George.
Now, what was
No.
his name? He was the. I see his face and everything. Anyway, the one that helped them chord structure.
Hmm.
How you just don't do it. No, there's a chord that goes with that. That's will make it much more fuller, much more this and that. If you listen to them, they did Eleanor Rigby.
Yep.
Did you hear the cello under there?
Hmm.
That was his idea. And he took one of the cats. I don't want to, they paid him to come in and do that thing. And they started getting more and more into that. And they started becoming more sophisticated. I mean, Elvis was watching all that stuff, just like the rest of us. Now, there were a lot of people who were like scared to death. The English are coming, the English invasion, the English invasion. Well, no, it wasn't no invasion. They didn't take anything. It was the nature of the business. It was called race music. It was only played on R&B stations. The pop stations were not playing that kind of music. All the way up to just about the 60s, they began to play it. Tops was around there, 60, 61, 62.
Hmm.
But they weren't playing it. And so because of that, it forced a lot of kids who love what they were hearing to turn on the radio, and had these things called transistors.
Yep.
You could put on in your ear, because they didn't want their parents to hear what they were listening to.
Right.
Usually that was a no-no. You don't. That music is devil music. It's this and that, and all kind of crazy crap. It was stupid, but to them it was real. As you come up with Perry Como and all that kind of stuff, you have no concept of what these kids were doing. They found a music, which was really, it was R&B. It was R&B, but they found it.
Right.
And then they tried to sing like it. And that's where it got a little strange. Pat Boone actually told me, he said he didn't want to do Tutti Frutti by Richard, none of that stuff. I mean, Pat Boone was straight, dude.
Right.
Straight. But the record company got him to do it. If you hear his song, Oh, Ruthie, Tutti Frutti, Bill Richard. Oh my God. But yet it's sold because of the race thing.
Right.
It was accepted because a white guy did it.
Right.
So it really forced the white young people to hide out and learn from them and then try to reproduce it.
Right.
And I must say successfully in some cases.
At that time, do you think that's how Little Richard saw it? When,
Richard was crazy. Pediment, man. He saw it. He always would go on radio or TV and said, "You stole my music." You
right.
know, I said, "I ain't never got no Grammy." He's always doing that, but that was all put on. You know,
Okay.
like Ali was. Same
Mhm.
thing, it was all put on. And just to get people riled up and come down to you. But speaking to him personally, he admired that they would try to do some of what he did. He really did. Like, wow. They thought enough of that tune,
That's really cool.
Yeah. So
That's
when
good
they
to
say
know.
anybody's been, you don't hear that. Oh man, they stole it. No, no, they didn't borrow it. It was a natural progression. The way the music was set up until a man by the name of Alan Freed, Moondog, was all of a sudden became a national syndicated radio show that was blowing up in Cleveland, and it put everywhere. Everybody thought Allan was black. Why? Because he was playing Muddy Waters, all the black music on a white station.
Right.
Eventually, they fired him because of his name called Moonglow. He had to get rid of Moon, whatever, Moondog or whatever, and get rid of that. And he started called his regular name, Alan Freed. And he came to New York City to WINS Winds, a pop station that was only playing Julius LaRosa and all that kind of stuff. Frank Sinatra. He came on and had the audacity, and they had him in this time slot. But like, we figured nobody's going to hear this guy. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. They heard him, and he blew up. They had no, it's all about money. They were making money hand over fist at WINS with advertisers. So they're saying, we gotta find a way to keep this stuff. And that's what started it. When they did it, that WNDW did it, and when it started in Philadelphia, and we went all over Baltimore, and then on the East Coast, and then it filtered across the country, and it's up on the West Coast. That's how it all started.
That's very cool. And I'm very happy that you said that because I've always wondered that about, the whole stealing thing, and that's really cool that they
No, they
actually
didn't. No,
appreciated
no,
it.
no. I can. One of the things I can say that because I was there.
Right. Right.
No, they didn't stealing. There was tendencies of some artists to feel a little bit like, man, I couldn't get my stuff played on that station. Now they had because I'm black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of thing. That was the only thing that if there was anything it was about that, not necessarily somebody stealing something. Now,
The issue of race, it's still such a problem today, but in the 60s, it was really prominent, and so much of the 60s was defined by the civil rights movement and segregation and
before that, man,
but
before that.
right before that.
Oh well, that was America. America's built on some of the most ridiculous stuff you can possibly think, but makes this country so awfully different. It overcame it. It's still doing that. It's defining itself. It's an experiment.
Mhm.
It's only 250 years old. I mean, England's 1,000 years old. France is obscene. I mean, we're talking about biblical times. America was just at that time was called the natural Indians and stuff that were in America. America wasn't even heard. They didn't even already care about it because they couldn't even nobody wanted to go across that ocean, Atlantic Ocean or whatever, to get to it. But a lot of the mariners knew about it because they traded. They were fur traders. They were this trader. They were trading oil, whatever. And the oil people at that time were getting their oil for lanterns were getting it from whales, whale blubber. So they were here a long time, and then somebody in England ended up because England claimed it, the Americas they called it, and that time it was just like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, New York State, Vermont. That was it. Anything west of that was the jungle. When you see pioneers and all that going, they went for because they figured if they can tame that land, they would own that land. At one point, the government actually was giving land away for $1 an acre. Well, you're the tenement building. Maybe I could build something. So people got in covered wagons, all kind of crazy crap, man. And then somebody said, "There's gold in them there hills." And then we went, boom. That's what developed the West, and we know as the Midwest and West. The East was first. You
Right.
know, the British came here in Virginia. I'm giving a little history lesson here. They came because of what? Well, they were smoking this stuff called tobacco. The only place what was conducive to growing that their seed was in North Carolina and Virginia. So they were settled first, long before the Pilgrims came in Massachusetts, Plymouth Rock, and all that kind of stuff. Long
That's right
before
near
that.
me, right down the street.
Yeah, so they came, and they were already building like farms, and they were generally getting along with the local Indians, and because Indians were trading with them. The Indians traded everything. I mean, that's what they did. And they didn't have any money. They would just trade fur and all kinds of stuff. So they were making a lot of money, and that was like an English, because it was English cats. The English claimed it. There you go. There's where America began. See, and then you had to bring it over slaves. But by the time they started shipping slaves over, which was a worldwide thing, slavery is not slavery that we knew. Slavery's been around since the beginning of time. And that started that trade. By that time, England said, no, we don't want to do this no more. Trade, in flesh. I think it was 1840 something when they said that's the end of that. But America was still doing it. Why? Because in the South, they were agricultural. They needed workers. Now they got to pay all that money it's much cheaper to buy you a few workers and you own them like cattle
Right.
or sheep. And all you got to do is feed them and give them some grass, and they go around doing what you want them to do. That's how these slaves or Africans were treated. They were property, and they made a lot of money. And it was all about the money: cotton, this, that, peanuts. And they were doing all that stuff. So, like, I'm very interested in that sort of thing, and especially in history. I'm a quasi historian, and someone once said, not to remember one's history is to repeat it. And one of the fun things about being my age and then talking to young cats like you want to know what happened? Well, ask guys like me.
Right.
We were there.
Right.
We, you get just, well, like you just said, well, there's this true about that stealing stuff. No, no, it wasn't that way. It's this way. And there's always an admiration between entertainers, singers, and performers like no other. Actors, dancers, people of the arts, you know, liberal arts, creative people, painters, all that. There's always an admiration of them looking at someone else's work. It really does just inspire them to kind of do better, or maybe I could do something more. And we benefit as the public from great works. So all this stuff that we deal with now in this little young country is, I wouldn't say is likable, but there's no place like it, because mostly any place else I've traveled around this world, oh baby, let me back in. Let me back in right now. With all the problems and everything, this will come close with what they're doing over there.
Right.
And it's just another. No, it's cool here. Thing here, and yeah, the race thing. That's not a political thing. You can't race. You can't be just taken knocked out by some political reasoning. That is a fallen man. That is called sin. It's called that's the worst part of us. So we all human. But the thing in human beings is they want to dominate. They got to find a way to make it so they make it, and consequently, a lot of times they'll use other people. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
Not cool. But as far as, oh, I hear people today saying, especially around you young cats, this is racist, that is racist, this is racist. Well, excuse me, I ain't racist. I live racism.
Right.
You want?
Right. And when it comes to, people in the 60s, like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and the civil rights movement, how did you navigate through that time as a musician or as a person?
I had no choice. First of all, I was black. I was just born. When I looked in the mirror, I was still black. So that's it. I'm on the front lines. no choice of my own. It was just the color of my skin. So I had no choice. It was what it was. Like when I lived in New York, there wasn't no outright racism, though there was, but it was subtle. I mean, it was like you didn't really notice it. But when my mother told me you're going down south now, you're going to see what the ugly thing it really is, And I went there and I wanted to come home. I said, this is no good. This working. Um, it was bad. And so, by the grace of God, I navigated. There's many of my performers didn't make it. Some of them died. Some of them, like Jesse Belvin, they cut his tires. Great singer in Texas. Somebody cut his tires. Could have been a girl. I don't know. But the cut tires take a man's strength, man. You know what I mean? I would kind of rule out a girl.
Hmm.
They could do it. I mean, they really wanted it bad enough. Yeah. But no, it was really because he was fooling around with a Caucasian girl and they just cut his tires and Jesse was known to fly down that highway. Tires blew up. He's gone. So and he was just a small part of it. Um in those days. So no, those are the bad old days. Things are a heck of a lot better now. I mean, kid you. And only those who came out of it could truthfully say that. I was asked by an interviewer much older than you, by the way, don't you feel bitter about this? No. I said, you know what, man? I said, I realized it was an experience. I learned from it. I don't, I didn't, I hated it. I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. I was told, put a gun in my face by a cop. They go Magnum 45, man. That thing would go up by mistake. I ain't here no more. All that stuff experience. But I remember something I'll always remember. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, in the old Atlanta airport before became Hartsfield.
Hmm.
Metropolis type airport it was. Today, in those days, it was like a barn, man. Like, that was it. Plane came in. And I was walking from one plane to another that I remembered. And I had just ran into what he was known at that time as Cassius Clay. He was Muhammad Ali. He had just beaten Liston. And he was a big fan of Little Anthony Imperials. And he was in the airport and he says, hey, Little Anthony, come over here. And all of us went with him in this little restaurant there at that time. And in the airport, they weren't segregated. They couldn't do it because it's federal,
Yeah.
right? Couldn't do it. So everything else was screwed. But in the airport or bus station, whatever, it was federal. So you couldn't be doing that. So we went eating in a restaurant or something. I just said, oh, what we do is late. And as I was leaving him, and the guys are walking, here comes Luther King walking this way. I guess changing planes or something in Atlanta. And I said, Mr. King. And he looked at me, oh, I said, I, I, I've been following you and I really thank you for what you're doing. And I'm in a group called Little Peace. Oh, yeah, you got that. What's that song? That Tears on My Pillow, something like that. I like that song. Looked at Abernathy, Reverend Abernathy is one of his tight cats. You like that song? Yeah. And I said, what can I do? What can I do for for the cause? He said, you do what you do, and I'll do what I do.
Wow.
Keep singing. I think a little thing like that with his greatness at that time made me feel like that big. What am I angry about? He's there with a smile on his face talking about you do what you do, and I'll do what I do. He was at peace.
Wow.
And I said, I have no right to go that route, you know? And I said to that reporter, who it was interviewing me, I said, Is that good enough? If not, can't help you. That's what happened." I said, "I don't. You never really fail at anything, man. Failure. Yeah, well, they failed. He failed. She failed. They failed. Nobody fails. You know, they asked uh, Thomas Edison once, being news people, what does it feel like having 92 of your experiments fail? And Thomas Edison said that, and I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
He said, "Oh, I didn't fail. I just found out 92 ways to do that." There is no fail. It's experience. You've learned, I can't do it that way. You know, Einstein once made it, he said, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again for different result. Now,
I
this,
think,
in my estimation, I have eliminated that, because if that were the case, then I failed so much I wouldn't be here talking to you. I mean, we all run through these moments. I have moments I run into and go, this is not working. But then I think, no, I was designed to be this way. This is my destiny. So I'm going to keep doing it the best that I can, and everything will basically fall in place, because that's how God designed me. And so I found, here I am speaking to people, young people like you, a lot. And I find it very, very important for me to tell you, hey, it's going to be all right, dude. You got to do what you do. Just exactly what you're doing. Like King said, do what you do. Do it at the best way you can. And you'll grow, 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 and you'll grow. And you'll affect people. Then you'll become a part of what this whole thing is about. Making this country better, making your neighborhood better, your family's proud, things like that. It only makes things better. It doesn't destroy. When you can get that bitterness, don't let it take hold, man. It'll destroy you. It's what's we're going through right now in this country.
yeah,
It'll destroy you. It'll kill you. I hate. I hate. No, you disagree. You just don't know how to disagree.
right.
What you don't understand, you're gonna just plain hate. Okay, that's devilish, dude. You know, and thank goodness there are people who stand up and some have to give their lives, but they do. So that cats like you can put your microphone on, and you know, I make it a point sometime to go to some of the World War II graves and things sometime, just to look at these guys. They call it the greatest generation. I came out of the generation. Actually, I am the greatest generation, but I was too young to be the greatest generation. But I came from that. And then what made them tick like that, that generation, that make them go out, I mean, just literally give their lives so that you could wear that microphone?
Yeah,
How could you disrespect that? There's no greater love. Jesus said it. There's no greater love than that gives down his life for his friend.
right.
I mean, to give his life down for his enemy is really super. But the fact is that none of us would be really enjoying any of this stuff if it were not for those girls, those guys, those women, those for one moment in time said, this is wrong. We gotta make this right. And so your time is coming. Do what you do. It's cool. I love it.
Me too. And I really appreciate it. I love it. I consider myself extremely lucky. I
Oh,
mean,
you are a blessed cat, man. You know what? It's a great business, man. Whether you sing or you're behind the mic like you are, you're part of the business. You get voice for cats like me and girls like me, ladies somewhere. And I'm not Greta Garbo. I want to be alone. No, not me. I want some people, dude. Be alone. They what? And so I just got all the confidence in cats like you, man. Y'all got it. Y'all get it. You get it right.
thank you. I mean, that means a lot to hear that. And I find it extremely important and a responsibility in a sense to, to keep these stories going. I don't really know what my audience looks like because I'm behind a camera. I mean, I know people that have said they listen to this show, but people could be listening from anywhere, any age,
Anywhere, yeah.
and
That's a
that
good.
that in itself is incredible.
Yeps. Yeah,
But
because of technology today. And that's why you see a lot more entertainers and performers are doing more and more podcasts
mm,
everywhere. Because they know it could be heard in Borneo somewhere, man, in deepest parts of you know, Madagascar. Somebody's got someone that'll hear you. Because I know I'll get letters from Russia, from France, from South America, Asia a lot, especially Philippines. I'm going, I didn't know about that. I have a friend of mine, few friends of mine who have podcasts. They said it's the most amazing thing in the world. It actually, it saved the music business is beginning to save music business because the music business got a little bit greedy there. And they took one of the greatest inventions ever was because they want to try to improve on it. The old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's vinyl records and mono and what's the other word? The post, well, not even post stereo. It is doing stereo. The sound and recording is entirely different than the years ago, but you could take the sound from years ago and match it, and it seems to be better.
yeah,
Even though we got all the technology in the world, the problem is it's so perfect, this technology, that you got to throw some dirt on. Nothing's that clean.
right.
So what we did was raw,
Hmm.
but it was beautiful. It was moments that caught people's hearts and their soul.
And that's
And
one of
I think
my
a lot of young people are now on YouTube. They found me. It's the weirdest thing I've seen. They found me. I've had it goes on and on. I just there's another got a call the other day from a media guy. Media guy. I never had a media guy till now. Scott. And it's amazing, man, how we can hear each other and talk with each other, every and anything. Some of it's stupid, but nonetheless, it's a free airway. Like and that's a lot of power. The
absolutely.
power of communication, dude.
And one of the
You
biggest
you
lessons
can't
that
pull the roll. You can't pull the wool over nobody there. I mean, like, there's so many ways to override a phone or, or get the message through. It one thing happens somewhere in the world, one place can affect the other part of the world. When I was a kid, that didn't exist.
I've learned so much from doing this thing, and especially, it's been amazing meeting, my heroes like yourself. But one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from doing this podcast, via technology or even contacting my guests beforehand, it's that we're all just people. We all have our
Yeah,
heroes, but we're all just people. And I learned that from talking to people. And it's just we're all just one
I got
people.
a guy, Gary Moore. He's a disc jockey up in San Francisco, one of the few left, and we've been friends a long time now, especially on Facebook. But we just talked about that. He says, "Man," he says, what's the name of the guy? Oh God, I forgot his name. The original Superman used to be on TV.
George Reeves.
George Reeves. Okay, he said, "I believe George Reeves was the best Superman of all."
I
I said,
agree.
"I concur."
Yep. Me too.
He was the best. Like, or we say, man, there was only one 007, man. Sean Connery. Man, he's the cat. So what we getting is actual real conversation by this technology with each other, as opposed to the media BSing everybody most of the time, creating the news rather than reporting it, it's shaping it. So it fits their narrative to get you to think that's the way it is.
Mhm.
No, we're doing is the way it is.
That's incredible. And one of the coolest things about you. is that here in 2026 now, I almost said 2025, but 20, you're still going. And that's where, my girlfriend and I, we are both at the time, she just turned 21, but we were both 20. We saw you twice this summer, and watching you on stage, I just instantly I said, that's someone I want to get to know because of your legendary career, but the fact that you're still going strong today, making music, and that's truly incredible. Um,
Yeah, that comes from this relationship I have with the audience, man. I came out of a stable of people who really were great artists, and they were like vaudeville people. The audience meant everything to them. They had an obligation to perform at a height because the attitude was they're paying that money, man. They done worked all week, and they want to come in and you do something to them to take them out of where they were for a better place, a better feeling, a better spot. So you can't I've heard some artists say, "Well, I tricked them again." I heard an artist say that once, got one name. "What do you mean you tricked them?" I said to myself, "No, no." I said, "This is what I always have, never cheated an audience," and I haven't in over close to 70 years. I laid it all out on the line out there because I know that they want to be that moment of, you know, "Oh, that's the way it was. It was good," you know? Um, to give them the best you possibly can give them. And then I try to make it so that when I'm on stage, it's like I came to your house and you're sitting on your favorite couch chair with your favorite beverage. And I'm in your house singing with a band. So I look at each individual that way. And if you notice me, I'm always looking from one left, stage right, front, up, balcony down. That's to say, every one of you are important. So this is me on this side, this is me on this side, whatever it is. Little things like that I learned from the greats. From the greats. They left that formula. Sammy Davis told me something. He said, "Dude," he said, "remember this. You start great, you end great. The middle will take care of itself." And Nicholas Brothers' greatest dancing group said, you know, "We just gave them style." Yeah, I better give them style. Everybody was coming out. If you notice, I think a couple of us, like Jay and Americans, had their uniforms and stuff, but I was the last cat that would come out like suit and a tuxedo. And I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. That's I like suits and tuxedos,
right.
and that's generally who I am. And for me to cut holes in my pants and my jeans and try to be something to not, I like being my age. The only thing I don't like is the aches and pains. But what I've got here is priceless.
Yeah.
And here,
And it's something that it's so unique and it always has been through your whole career. But I'll tell you, the two times that we went to the shows this year, everyone loves the Happy Together tour that's there because it's just such an energetic and fun show. But the second you come out, and it happened both times, everyone stands
yeah,
automatically, and tears start running down people's faces, including my own. It's a beautiful thing.
It was his name. I can't remember. Jay's gonna hit smack, but Jay the Americans get his last name.
I think it's
Uh,
Ranky, something.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Thank you, man. Thank you. Anyway, he said, "Hey, we figured this out. We know how you do that. See, what we'll do is we'll work on it. We'll sing this." Everybody was bad. It's funny. Yeah, yeah, that comes from years and years of really. I think what it is the audience knows that I really love what I'm doing for them. Before they know that when I come out, he's going to give you everything he's got. I've seen him before. He does it every time. That's what I meant. I've never cheated an audience. That means that even young people, there's a lot of young people that don't listen to the kind of music that we came, but they'll come out and see me just for that fact. There's going to be a relationship between him and that audience. Because when I talk to people out there, I make a lot of comedy and use humor and put everybody like, relax, man. We're gonna be here for a few minutes. Now have some fun.
I've been to a lot of concerts and I have never seen anything like your performance. It just it pulled me right in. And thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and then the audience, because I love performing. When I'm not performing too, I mean, I like to get some rest, but boy, I like to do it all the time. Like the greatest fun I have too is recording in recording studios. It's just something wonderful, like creating stuff
Mhm.
and doing stuff, and I'm able to still been able to do that. I'm very grateful for that. I work with some really, really cool people. I got a guy by the name of Fred Marlin, one of the great country producers and pop producers, has called me and said, "I got a great idea, man. Let's do the American Songbook." I said, "Oh, putting that together, baby, that that kind of cash."
It's a big project.
He said, "No, let me worry about that. Are you down for that?" I said, "Do a hog like slop? Yeah, let's do it." I've been on the texting him back and forth. He's sending me these songs of pop, going back and forth, saying, which one did you really like? And this is what I like. And eventually we'll condense it down to that 12 or 10 or 12 songs.
Mhm.
And then he's going to take it from there, and that's fun. And I'm going down to Nashville with young man, Scott Cardell and James and a few other young folk, he's about your age, some of them. I think Scott's a little bit older. Um, and they just, man, we fooled around, and I got a melody in my head. I had it for quite some time, and it was called it once was. Is the name of the song.
Mhm.
So we fooled around with it, and then we co-write it, all three of us. So I'm going down to Nashville to do that. That's going to be interesting. The first song I've written in years.
Wow.
Well, co-writing. They did a lot of work on these kids. They're really good, man.
Mm.
I like working with young folk, man, because they give it that little something. Their world, you know what I mean? And it's quite interesting when they say, "Can you do it this way?" I'm going, "Really?" Okay. But it's just fun working with them because they look at it a little bit differently, but still the same. We're making music, dude.
That's all that matters. And I look forward to hearing that too. And anything new that you put out, guarantee I'll listen to it.
Yeah, the recording bit is entirely different. I came this close to a Grammy. One of my best friends that I've known that girl, that lady, for over 60 years, that's Candy Staten, great blues singer. Her son is my drummer, Marcus Williams. He plays drums for me. And she just got nominated at 85 years old. I said, "Go on, girl.
Wow.
Dang it, you got it and I missed it. Dang it." I'm so happy for him, proud to there's only a few of us, man, but she's one of those people that's like me. I'm not by myself. She has this look about life that's not 85, it's young. That's what keeps her so interesting. And she sings so well. And it's just what she's been doing her whole life. The blues, the album is called something. Album told me that my son called me and told me. I said, "Well, what was the song?" I said, "Have him send me the tracks on it. Let me hear which one was it?"
Mhm.
And Marcus told me, said, "Well, I've been working with Mama this thing, man, for years." And we kept saying it, and we would do a little here, and we would do a little there. Until eventually, we ended up with an album. And then went through social media and did the whole thing. And then the Grammy people picked it up, and they said she's been nominated for that category. I think it's blues. And I'm very proud, very proud.
Very cool. Anthony, I have one more question for you, and I'm very curious about it. And it's I have to be honest, it's not my own question. I watch interviews very often with different artists, and I often come across interviews with Roy Orbison, who is another one of my heroes.
Love that guy.
And he was asked how he would like to be remembered, and his answer was, "I would just like to be remembered." And I'm curious, how would you like to be remembered?
Like what he said. Uh, I was here. I mean, like, you couldn't ask for anything for me. This is not one of I'm not one of those artists that, and I'm sure it wasn't Roy because I know him a long time. Uh, he's the kind of guy that just loved the music, and th- it's it's just that yeah, I love it. I just loved, I just it was me, you know. I was here.
Yeah.
Did I make it better? Did I make this world better? Did I come through and leave something that someone else can take and carry with them? Then my life is fulfilled. Reached my purpose. Period.
Well, you will certainly you have left such a remarkable legacy. And I mean, like I said, I'm only 20, and yet I've been a fan of yours for as long as I can remember. And, I will do anything in my power to keep this music going through my shows, through the podcast, anything I can, because it is the best music that the world has ever known.
It was when we call it moments. There were artists that just they were free to do that. A little bit different now. We had great A&R men, record men. And these people were like they knew. It's a little bit different now. So they have to overcome that, and many have. Adele overcame it, and others, Nicki Minaj, on and on and on. So it can be done. It's just different.
Right.
It's difficult for whatever reason. It's. I mean, you guys. I don't know, but a lot of young people, if I'm not mistaken, are getting turntables. A lot of them have bought. A guy told me at Best Buy they were selling turntables by the carloads this Christmas.
Yeah, it's coming
Vinyl,
back.
but because of analog mono. It's that thing that you hear Sinatra singing in the 40s and 50s and Nat singing, the sound, it's big time. And the British, they still record with two-inch reel. And what they do is they take it to Pro Tools and they do whatever they do to enhance or whatever, but they still record through the 2-inch mono analog.
Fascinating.
It is, isn't it? It was something that it had that was lost. And I think that young people know that. That's why they run and getting these turntables, trying to find out, well, what is that thing I heard? Wait a minute. I don't hear that when, now. Why did it sound like that? Like in you. And when they're buying up vinyl records, it's amazing.
It
Um,
is.
they tell me now you got to print it. I mean, if something happens, they opened up about 2 or 3 pressing plants again. There used to be hundreds of them, but CD came in, and then look at the CD. That went the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah. They don't even make cars with CD players anymore.
Yeah, no, because everybody's downloading.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was talking, it was one of my previous guests. We were talking about how that's where artists really tend to struggle now because if someone can buy 1,000 downloads on Spotify or Apple Music, but it doesn't really support the artist as well, as well as the physical media,
No, they don't. But it's still a medium. It's a platform.
for sure.
I
For
heard
sure.
just your stuff. But the days of the record companies just about gone. There's only a few left, and basically they're down in country artists and other ones that have stayed with that formula. They
Yeah.
still recording, man. I went down there in Nashville, man. Musicians all we're in the same room, still together. Not sending a MP3 to you, and this one sends it to that singer, and it's kind of crazy. But here we were, Brooke. We were like looking at each other in the booth. It's like the old days in the catcher in the studio. It was something wonderful about that. But that's it. I mean, Nashville, the only one still doing it. But the rest of the company, the business is kind of scattered right now. It's trying to find its footing. What is it now? It lost it. Fool around and you lost it. Now you can find it again, but they're still looking for it.
I'm so glad physical media is coming back because, well, I think it was Lenny Colosino from Jay and the Americans who said to me recently, he told a joke on here and he said, well, now that the penny's going out of style, how is Spotify going to pay the artists? Because that's
Right?
about all it is.
Oh, that's we're getting pennies to the dollar.
Yeah,
As opposed 40, 50, 60 years ago, when you're getting, well, 15 cents to the dollar. Big difference when you add it all up.
absolutely.
And so and that could so now we only use it as a media to, most artists are beginning to own their own record companies. They got their own everything. And the middleman is gone. So all those big Sony's left around, but Universal's still there.
Hmm,
Something like Capitol in Nashville. But the rest is gone. All the indies, all the independent companies are gone.
I know. It's unbelievable. And I'm very interested to see where it's going to go in the next few years, especially with, AI and everything like that too.
Well,
That's a whole different thing, but
you're going to turn people on. That's why those shows on TV, like America's Got Talent and The Voice and all that, are so successful. Because there's still artists. There's still people trying to do the best they could do to make that audience happen. But they don't have the outlet we had, what Tom Jones had, I had. We had the outlet. They
right.
don't. Much tougher today.
Well, now I just keep hearing those words in my head. Just do what you do.
You do. That's what they told late Bob Bowman of the Turtles.
Yeah,
Asked them, how do you feel doing what you're doing? He said, of course, I'm doing what I do. Ray Charles said that. I didn't do what I do, baby.
I'm gonna hold that right in my heart now because that's really it's simple, but it's real and it's
You
very
are.
helpful.
This is how you're designed to do what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You do it well.
Thank you.
You do it.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you spending some time with me today so much. I mean, this has been a dream come true and an honor.
Oh, gee, I'm glad it happened that way. This was fun.
It really
Really.
was. I learned so much. I really did, and that's the reason I love doing this. So thank you so much for joining me today.
And thank you and your audience. And wish you the best, young man.
Thank you so much. And to everybody listening, stay tuned for some more great stuff coming in 2026 here on In the Green Room. And until next time, you've been listening to Little Anthony today, a legend in the business, and someone I am very grateful to now say that I know and call a friend.
Thank you.
So until next time, may God bless you all, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.